Hello and welcome to my part 2 of the Blazon series. So we've already gone through the individual Blazons and the buffs and how they can work with different scenarios. So now we're going to go into the second part of Blazon buffing / debuffing. So if we go back to the Blazons, each troop type has two different sets of Blazons. So ground, range and siege all have one when attacking and one when defending. So we have sacrifice, which is when defending, and justice when attacking for ground, and then the other two have different names as well. So when it comes to the when attacking and when defending, they follow a very similar pattern for each of the 4 units, obviously. So when attacking and when defending, the first two for the sets, so between 2 to 4 equipment, you will get 1 to 2 debuffs. So if I go to my range quickly, you can see here. So when attacking, when defending, we'll have the first 2 stats as debuffs. The first one, you require 2 of the same blazon to unlock. The second one requires 4 of the same set to unlock. And then the final one is a stat buff. So when it comes to your blazon sets, there's 2 ways you can go about it. So if you're, for example, with me, with my ranged, I primarily want them for my offensive. So I've gone full down the Valar set. But when it comes to my ground, I am eventually going to be going for the 4 set of sacrifice for the 2 debuffs. And then what I will be doing is I will be going for 2 justice, just to get that extra debuff in for when I'm attacking. So with how buffs and debuffs work, is debuffs, you can debuff up to 50% of a person's buff. So how you could view this is for example, on the Valar set, you're getting the 20% debuffs, but if someone has debuffs higher than your range troop attack, defense, and HP is, you're only getting a 5% increase rather than the 10%. So if you're likely to be hitting people who are much higher, it could be easier just to go for the compassion and get an extra 25% debuff on enemy ground troops when they attack you, so it makes you a bit more defensible for if they attack you while you're attacking them. So there is one difference with mounted, which is they have the soul set. So they have an set just for monsters, which early on can be very helpful. And then they have their honor set, which is the when attacking set. So they do not have a defending set, but they do have their, obviously, as I said, their PvE set and then their offensive set. So if you are going to go for PvP, you will probably want to take off your soul set, or at least for 4 of them, and then you'll want to add on the honor to get the extra debuffs, which are 2 very important ones: ranged troop attack and ground troop defense. So definitely ones to look out for. So set buffs and debuffs are a bit easier to understand than the individual blazons, because there are only 2 options, and it's basically fully commit to one playstyle or mix it up a little bit by getting 4 of one set, 2 of the other set, to maximize the debuffs that you can get from them. So once you've got your individual blazons for the sets you want, how do we upgrade them? So if I come to, if I find one where I've got one marked up, so you go to your blazon, you'll have to have that blazon equipped, and then you just tap the upgrade at the bottom right here. And basically what it will do is it will use any Blazons you haven't locked as fodder for this Blazon. So if you select one, each one is 100 EXP towards a new level, and the EXP grows as the Blazon grows. So my level 1 costs basically 2 Blazons to upgrade, whereas if I go back to my level 10, which I wouldn't upgrade because it did get the troop load, which we went through in the other video, is one of the 2 that you do not want. But if I wanted to upgrade it, you say I got another ground troop HP, then it would cost me 33 Blazons to upgrade. Now, when it comes to upgrading, obviously if you do hit a ground troop load or a ground troop capacity, but it is level 10, I would just lock it and keep using that Blazon until you have a replacement that you can get to a similar level and hopefully a more useful stat, because you've already invested in the Blazon. And unfortunately, if you go to use a, so if I show you here, if you go to use a level 10 Blazon on your weaker Blazon, it will give you 9,620, which is not the exact same cost as getting that level 10. It is a lower cost, so you do not get back all of your EXP that you used into it. You get a part of it back, the same as you would do if you went to dismiss a general that you had runestones and areas in. You will get a part of it back, but not all of it. So the other thing to keep in mind is, as you're upgrading these runestones, if I upgrade this one, it goes from 0.9 to 1.6, 1.6 to 2.4. So you do need to be aware of, the more you're investing in these, the higher they're going to get. And this is why I said, if you have a level 10 but you get a troop load or a troop capacity, just keep it, because it will be a much higher stat than what it would be if you just put a level 1 in there. So you should really stop upgrading when you either hit a useless stat or at the threshold of level 10 or 15, just for the simple fact of, say for example on this Blazon, I got level 10 reinforcing ground HP. I would probably stop with this one for the meanwhile and work on other ones to get them to level 10. And then once I had all the ones I needed to work on currently to level 10, I would then focus on looking at getting them all to level 15 for that 4th one. So I can show you on my mounted one, at level 15 you unlock this 4th one, and then you can bring them all the way up to level 20, which is the maximum level for a Blazon. So as you can see on this one, the stats are slightly skewed in the, depending on what level you got them at. So the first 2 are increased at a lower rate than the 2 that you gain at level 10 and level 15. So the maximum buff that you can get will increase with which position the stat is, if that makes sense. So you've got the first 2 positions up here, and then your 3rd one, which you get at level 10, which is the second highest stat ceiling that you can get, and then the 4th one is the absolute highest that your ceiling can go to. So for example with mine, obviously it's giving me a 22.8% attack when my mounted troops are rallying, whereas my first one is only giving a 15.5, so there is a 7.3% difference. It is quite big, so if you're going for one full stat for one, in terms of if you wanted all 4 of them to be in rally, there will be that stat difference throughout. So yeah, that is the second part, which was Blazon sets and how to upgrade your Blazons. During part 3, we will go through how you can go through the cultivation of Blazons, and also, finally, where can you find Blazons in the game. Thank you very much, and like and subscribe the video.